Hello, everybody. Bad Weather Freak here. It is June 2nd, 2021, and it is officially the start of the hurricane season, 2021 hurricane season. The official start was yesterday, but I have a little bit of time today to make a quick video for you, keep you up to date on what is going on right now. As expected, not much is going on. It's barely the second day of the hurricane season. And I'm going to show you a few things today and see where we at in time as far as tropical activity. So first of all, what you're seeing here, it is a very cool chart that the National Hurricane Center or National Weather Service, they have made. And again, it's actually not really updated 100% because you can see that it's actually behind like 7 years or 6 years. So basically, there's a lot of storms that have formed that are not in this chart yet, but nevertheless we use what we got, and this is just so to show you what type of activity we could potentially see based on the long-term average. And as you can see, at this time of the year, the first week of June, there's not a lot of activity. Okay, towards the end of the season or later in the season, especially on the peak, you will see these red dots show up pretty much everywhere in this area. But right now, because it's pretty early and the conditions are not favorable, excuse me, you can see all these dots pretty much closer to home, mainly in the Gulf, Western Caribbean, and I will show you why that is the reason in another graph in a minute. But as you can see, the majority of the formation happens close to home, and again, not a lot. This amount of storms have happened over a long time, over 100 years. So obviously there's not much going on or much activity that potentially we can see. Again, it all varies. Each hurricane season is different, but this is the long-term average. Now let's go back to the sea surface temperature. And the sea surface temperature, as you can see, things are warming up rapidly. If you checked probably last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, I would say last week, the water temperature, especially closer to the Destin, Pensacola area, Panama Beach, Panama City Beach, and even closer to Tampa, the water was a little cooler than average. But right now, it's like a switch. As soon as we hit the end of May and the beginning of June, these water temperatures they started going up quick. They started warming up fast. Western Caribbean, again, fairly warm, actually warmer than the Gulf of Mexico, and that's why you saw a lot of these dots here where you see the cluster here for this time of the year. And then some in the Gulf. Like I said, if we go back, you can see why. But surprisingly enough, for this early in the season, you can see 80-degree temperatures. Now, 80 degrees support tropical formation. So here, if something decides to form, it can sustain it. It can support it. It's not going to support a Category 5 hurricane because it needs quite a bit more heat and the conditions to be better. But nevertheless, it could support some formation, at least if it is a weak storm. Now let's take a look at see how the radar is, what is going on as far as precipitation goes. As you can see, cluster here in the deep tropics. Now, my concern here is that if this persists, if we see this pattern happening towards the peak of the season in August, mid-September, early September, mid-September, and even October, this is gonna be an issue, because when you start this flare up and this cluster of storms, let's say in the peak of the season, and then the water temperatures and the right conditions being here, and I'm going to show you another graph that I'm going to show you in part of my concern. If this persists, we're going to have pretty much like an assembly line of storms, because when you are in the peak of the season, the conditions are right, and you get flare-ups like this, it's still gonna potentially start developing. So we need to watch this. And the fact that it's so far south is the worry also, because when you have this cluster, let's say, form up here, pretty high up. What ends up happening a lot of the times is, unless the Bermuda high is really strong and it pushes down the storms or blocks them from curving out to sea, what ends up happening is then they start curving out. So let's say the Bermuda high is here, then you see, let's say this was here, then you can see storms going this way. Or if the Bermuda high is this way, closer to Florida, then you see curving up this way. So we got to watch that for sure. It is, again, a little concern. Again, things change and we have a long way to go. But again, it's something to keep an eye on. Now, as far as the temperatures overall, this was updated on May 31st. You can see that the majority of the Atlantic and the Caribbean, Gulf, it's right on schedule. As expected, since we're in a somewhat of a weak La Nina neutral year, the majority of the Pacific is still cooler, but nevertheless, it can still produce storms, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you. So right now we have Tropical Storm Blanca in the Pacific. And as you can see, 100 or 1,002 millibar central pressure, and it's not really much of it, but it's not expected to do anything. It's not expected to affect anybody. And even if we look at this chart here of intensity, you can see that it's not expected to really become anything significant. But nevertheless, one of the things to keep an eye on, if we look at the spaghetti model, same thing. There's not really anywhere to be affected by it. So that's a good thing. We look at the cone of uncertainty here. You can see that it's going to start weakening very soon. As if it goes further out, is going to start happening because there's not much going on as far as right conditions. You see, the majority of the Pacific is under the average as far as water temperature. So that's what I have here for the Pacific for Blanca. One thing I wanted to show you here is, and again, part of that concern, like I said, it is this right here. Now, this is a pretty cool chart. Ben Knoll on Twitter posted this, and this what you're looking at here is this deep green. Basically means favorable conditions. So when you have this in the peak of the season, and that's exactly when he's saying that this should happen, is August through October, the busiest months of the season. When you have this over Africa, remember, Africa, the African monsoon is what spits out bundles of energy and the waves that eventually become hurricanes and storms in the Atlantic. When you have this strong system here that is going to be spitting out waves, that is concerning, because if this keeps just shooting them out in a sense, it's potentially gonna be bad. I mean, we have to see how it develops. Now, if this was probably closer to over here, then of course it will be worse, because there's other factors that are going to affect the formation, like Saharan dust, dry air, all those things that are going to prevent storms from developing. But again, still, nevertheless, we have this here in Africa. This could be an assembly line, like I said earlier. So this is something that we need to keep an eye out. Yeah. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, as far as, again, just keep your eyes open. It's still early. You still got time to really prepare. It's still very early. One thing I wanted to bring up and mention also is, remember that until June 6th, you have, at least here in Florida, you have tax-free preparation supplies for hurricane season. You can get batteries, you can get lanterns or flashlights, you can get generators, tarps, those items, weather radios, those items that are going to keep you safe in the hurricanes, during hurricanes. And right now until June 6th, you can purchase those items tax-free. So again, it's gonna save you a little bit of money, but when you compare to the rest of the year, this is a perfect time to buy them, because you can save a little bit of money. You don't have to pay any taxes on it. So take advantage of that. Again, until June 6th, you have to do that. Other than that, I appreciate you guys watching my video. This is a brief update of the 2021 hurricane season. Again, it's June 2nd, so we just started the official season for this year. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Share this video with your friends and family. Any questions, any comments, post them in the comment section below. And other than that, I'll see you on the next video.